Hello everyone, I'm Jalen Evans. I'm an undergraduate research assistant here at CIRDLES, and right now I'm a senior in college. And today I'll be talking to you about integration tests and a brief overview of how we use these in Tripoli. So first, we're going to talk about what are test cases, and we're going to go through the two important ones, which are unit test and integration test, and then we're going to do a demonstration of an integration test that we've implemented in Tripoli. So, what are test cases? So we have the Geeks for Geeks definition right here. A test case is a step-by-step guide used to check if a specific part of a software application works correctly as expected. So all that's saying is that it just makes sure that the code that we added, the newer things, uh, run the same and how we expect them to, even if we add other things or even if we change something in there. We just want to make sure that the thing that we implemented stays working how we expect it, doesn't break, doesn't do anything unnecessary, and messes up any data that you guys will be coming across in Tripoli. So the two types of test cases that I mentioned before, unit and integration tests, are the ones that we use in Tripoli. There's another one called end-to-end testing that we have implemented. We have not implemented, I should say. Um, and it's a little bit less important for things like this. So, unit test. It's just when you take a small portion of a functional piece of code. For instance, one that I worked on was Chauvinet's criterion, and then you test that bit to make sure it works as it's expected. You don't include anything else. You want to isolate it as much as possible so that you know if you have any issues, they lie solely within that one feature. So when I was working on Chauvinet's criterion, I was not a part of the actual creation of the feature itself that you guys see. I was only in charge of writing the unit test for it. So the way you write a unit test is you basically mimic the feature running again, but you have it tested against a specific data set and that we call an expected output, or we call it an oracle. So we have our actual data and we test that to make sure it equals our oracle. So moving on to integration test. This is when you just take multiple features or components of a program or a project and you test how they work together in harmony. So for instance, the one I was tasked on was generating a full report with the analysis, the report building, the report data, all of those things. Those are different features and different segments of the program that we want to test to make sure they all work together in that harmonious flow. And we want to catch if any one of those break, because if any one of those break, the flow will break, and that leaves you guys without generating a full report, which is pretty important. So not only do we have each unit test within each of those components, making sure none of those components fail, but we're also testing that the integration of those components aren't failing, so you guys are able to generate a full report. And both of these tests are important because whenever we add a new feature, we want to make sure that the previous updates that we had for you guys stay the same and continues to give you that same product that you guys have been wanting. So now we're going to move on towards the live demonstration, and I'll be going over to IntelliJ. So this is IntelliJ. This is where the IDE, where we code everything for Tripoli. Well, personally, where I code everything for Tripoli. And here is the all reports test, which is the integration test for generating a full report, or just generating a report in general, because there's also the short report. Let's see. So here is the full report test. It goes through and creates the analysis list, the interface, and the report data for it. And then it has the actual report and the expected report, and then it asserts those to make sure that they're not empty, and then it sends it to assert to the Oracle, which I'll show you guys later. But this is just how it generates a full report. We scroll down a little bit. This is the short report, or that clipboard report you guys can do sometimes. And this is a really important piece of the integration test. So what this does is it generates the file paths towards our oracles, or actually in this case our data files. So we have all of our data files here from the like Isotopics Phoenix, the Neptune, New Tims, Triton Tims. All of those are different sets that we use in Tripoli. Specifically, for instance, like you wouldn't be able to read them, but these are just things that the data that we get, not that we get, the data that we put into the machine, then that comes out and we get a result. So we're feeding all of our data into the machine. In this case, it's just our program, and then it comes out and it gives us a result, which is either a full report or a short report, which you can see here, or right here, these tests. And the way we do that is we pass the output of the file paths here into our parameterized test here. And this is really cool. This is something that's relatively new, and it allows us to write less code to do all of these. So even if we add a new file in here, we would still be able to test that. So for the reports, respectively, what they do is if they don't work, it says generation failed. If they work, it says generated successfully, and then it catches any errors that happened. So I believe it's around 60 or so different data files that we have here, and then their respective oracles. So I'll be running the test now so we can see that go through. And you can see some of the lines are coming out, and as they go through, the tests are passing. And all of our tests have passed. And I'll just go through and show you guys some of the print statements that we have. So here you can see that it's generating the report data for this specific data set. And the report data is just all the things in the analysis list, the analysis, etc., all that. And it generates that successfully. And then it continues to go through and generate the full report and the short report, and then that concludes our test case for that individual file. And it goes through every file that we have listed in these data files in this folder right here. So that will be the end of our talk, our brief overview about integration test. If you have any questions or want to dive deeper, you're more than welcome to look into our GitHub and look through the files. This specific integration test is the allreportstest.java in the report data.java that I wrote. Or you could also put a comment down or email me directly. You can find my email on the CIRDLES website. And thank you all for watching. And I hope you learned something and continue using Tripoli. Thank you.